Okay, it is the top of the hour, so we will go ahead and get started. I believe everything is, so the recording is started. Everybody can hear me and you can see the slides, right? Excellent. So this is the Sacrum working group. Let me undo the chat thing so I can actually. Excellent, great. So with that, we will start with the note well, since this is the first meeting of the week. Remind everybody that this is the IETF note well. You acknowledged it when you registered, and if you are a regular participant in the IETF, you will have seen it before. It covers all of the procedures and processes and policies that we abide by. In particular, take note of the intellectual property rights and also the code of conduct and the anti-harassment policies. If you have any questions about any of these, feel free to ask Chris or myself or Roman, who is our responsible AD. Next is the agenda that we have. We're at the welcome, note well, and administrivia section of this. The first thing that I do need is a minute taker. Is anybody volunteering to take minutes? Minutes, anyone?
Bill, can you hear me? I'll take some notes.
Is that Bill again?
Yes, it was.
So reliable. Thank you, Bill. We don't particularly need a Jabber scribe. The Jabber is integrated into the Meet Echo tool that we are all using. And I don't know if there's any agenda bashing. Okay. So with that, go ahead.
Just say, in the terms of the Rolly configuration checklist stuff, it appears that my name got drafted on there. I was under the impression that Stephen was going to be given the update on that. So if somebody else that Stephen works with is on and they know a little bit more about it than I do, I can give a 3-second update. Otherwise, it's not too much.
Okay, I was just, last time I put Stephen's name on it and they told me to put your name on it. So this time I put your name on it.
That makes sense, yeah, sure.
But I don't see Stephen or
Gabe on here either, so
yeah, I don't see either. Either one of them. All right, thank you. So the next thing is document status. I went ahead and put the EPCP on here because we had a virtual interim a little less than a month ago. And at that virtual interim, we decided to stop work on that. And we had a discussion for the rationale for that. But the chairs were supposed to send a follow-up email to the mailing list, which in reviewing the minutes, I realized that we had not done. So earlier this evening, I sent that follow-up email to the mailing list. And I've given a date of Friday. So if the rationale, if folks are happy with, I mean, basically the idea was that Jess felt that the document was no longer needed in the community, that the work on the document had already informed the work of the working group, and that any material that needed to be incorporated into the architecture document, where the architecture document was relying on the EPCP, could be moved there. Sort of the other reason is that there appears to be a fair amount of work that would need to be done, and we don't really have editors for it at this point. If anybody feels that that document does need to be progressed, I'm looking for both opposition to us parking it and also volunteers for helping to complete it. So that's why that's still on there, if you were at the virtual interim and you were wondering why. The next document is the Coastwood document. I know that there has been a lot of work done to update this, and I'm not sure who would like to speak to the current status of it. I put Hank's name on here because he was the one that discussed it before. So I don't know who would like to discuss what the current status of addressing all of Roman's comments on that is.
Dang it. So this is Hank. Hi, am I audible?
You are audible, yes.
Hi. Hello, everyone. There was actually feedback from Roman my night yesterday, so this is my very early morning today. We have created a update, as you mentioned. It is rather substantial. We addressed all of Thomas's comments. I think there is this structural thing to disconnect from the SWIT interoperability semantics. I think we have done that. I think that is the most difficult to check. Roman seems to have liked it. Roman, if you have a comment on that, that would be helpful, I think. The only really open issue is actually a rather technical one. I think the other ones are just more legwork that we have were not able to complete until this meeting here. And this technical one is the time representation of XSD date, and if the CBOR time is actually a appropriate thing, because we have to convert that. I think it is. We might not need the time fraction here. We can fall back to an int type of a time that we can create our own by not using float, but the native primitive int from CBOR. And then there is this question that we actually did not get from Roman, and I think Roman is here today, which is about the extensibility features of CBOR to be used here. And that caused a little bit of a confusion in the editors group because we did not really get the meaning, I think. So Roman, if you could elaborate on this for a second, that would be nice. I think this might be possible here or per email later. But yeah, that is basically it. We are addressing the rest.
Okay, I think Roman's in the queue. Roman, go ahead.
Hey everyone. So top line, the thing you first mentioned, Hank, about the fact that the new text unwinds CoSWID and SWID. Yeah, thank you. That you guys, the team did a great job unwinding that. All that text looks good. To the point about extensibility, I would have to look at exactly what I said. Was I poking at extensibility via CBOR? Was that the issue?
Yeah, I think you did, and that is actually, I think, the issue here, because we don't really know. We interpreted it that way, and but it was really hard for us to understand that. And let me find that passage. It's about.
Because I thought I made a new checklist kind of yesterday. I took a subset of my original feedback. I don't remember anything about extensibility. If I did say something, I think I may have just meant give me more words around.
So yeah, it's versioning. It's versioning. So it's a section 2.3.
Yeah, I did say something about versioning.
Yeah, that was the case. So the versioning of so what I think you're hinting at is including in the instantiation of a Coastwood something about which version of the CDDL specification, which does not have a version, is used here. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's exactly. So I was thinking about this, the SWID to kind of CoSWID. In SWID, I thought that there was an explicit version number, right?
Yeah, it's by the it's in the namespace. So XSD typically has this interesting feature, let's call it, to draw in the version number into a namespace. CDDL has neither.
Right.
Sorry.
So,
Coastwood has neither. The Coastwood CDDL has neither. This is better. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. And so all I'm just wondering is how to handle that, because again, I thought there was an attempt to have full symmetry. So if one has it, how would it be handled? And I'm not saying it needs an explicit thing. I would just say provide some text so there is symmetry.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. So it's supposed to be handled by the extensibility feature. So everything that changes over time can be expressed with additional specifications. The specifications have a semantic scope, and therefore it is defined there. We abstract from this full symmetry already a little bit here now, and this would go into that part that is also detaching itself from that. There is the assumption is that having a more complex extensibility feature, like for rims or for other contexts, like the evolvement of ISO, if it's reflected here, there will be more than one way to combine all this, which is typically the thing, the lane you want to go down the small constraint space and the CDL space. We will include text, so we can explain how this is not relatively important to this new concept here, and how it is dealt with, and how it's still working. So we will just add more text about the versioning capabilities of the Coastwood spec. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
I think from my part that it is. So the rest is actually, so for example, expressing issuing emails again for registering some of the items, some artifacts that are still in there. I think that is all still some legwork. I think we're on a good way here. So stay tuned. I assume this will only, looking back on our speed, I think it will take like 4 to 6 weeks, and then we have this all done. Thank you.
Okay. Chris, you had...
Yeah, just a quick question, which is, Roman, did you mean that you wanted to be able to express what SWID version a CoSWID implementation was kind of compatible with, or just a version of the CoSWID?
I was thinking the version of the CoSWID.
Okay.
Can you hear me? This is Dave.
Basic symmetry thing.
Hold on, Dave, just a second. Go ahead, Chris.
But no, I think that was the question, which was really if you were just kind of a versioning of CoSWID, then I understood Hank's answer to your question. If it was more about how the symmetry to SWID versions was, then I don't think we were getting there, but I think we're good.
Okay, sorry, Dave. I think Chris and I are both clearing the queue at the same time. So,
I see.
Go ahead.
I just had just for clarification, I'm sorry I joined late. I was having a hard time getting connected at first meeting of my week. So as far as like CoSWID versioning, do we need to have an explicit version? So one of the things that we're doing in CoSWID is we have a registry of CoSWID tags, and so the idea is that as the syntax of a CoSWID were to change, we would simply add new tags to that registry. So effectively, our change control, with the model, happens through that tag registry. Do we need an explicit version?
So from Hank's point of view, of course, no. But there might be others' opinions here.
So we had raised the question a while back about explicit versioning, and Jim Shaw at the time had actually raised the concern that all tags are are numbered, and if we simply add new data, new tags to the model, that would be handled through the registry, and we've been working off of that assumption, since then. And so I'm wondering, is this discussion a change in that plan, or are we keeping with that approach going forward? I guess I'm mostly concerned with addressing Roman's AD feedback. Roman, do you have specific concerns that require versioning?
So philosophically, I guess I envisioned that if we ever published, let's say, Coastwood 1112 or 20, would we have kind of a new registry of the tags, so to speak? So if I ever wanted to provide, a profile of some kind saying, I expect the following things versus kind of not, because that's my version of kind of Coastwood, I would not have some easy way to know which version I was expecting without something application specific. But if that's been asked and answered and we're comfortable with that, that's fine. I was explicitly trying to catch the fact that for everything in SWID, I was expecting to see some analog in CoSWID, and this was one of the things that I caught that didn't have that. And so I'm not per se arguing if that's what the working group wants, that we need to put it back in there. I was just saying the way Hank was already noting that he can drop the text in is just, here is why it's not in there, and it's a sentence or two explaining the situation, that it's a different data model.
Yeah, I think okay, I got you. I'm clear on what's needed there. Thanks for the discussion. I appreciate it. Yeah, and as far as what else is left with the draft, we have those early registration or the early review requests that you had asked for that we need to get done. And there's also, I think, one small issue with adding some text about size comparisons, for SWID tags and co-SWID tags. I haven't had a chance to get my implementation up and running to do those comparisons, so that should be a pretty quick thing to do as well.
That size comparison thing, as I put in my comments last night, I mean, that's not a big deal. I think that's super helpful, but I mean, that's pretty much cosmetic.
Yeah. Thanks for all the great feedback. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so thank you, Roman, for that, actually. So it was a big list, and it took a lot of time to compile that. And again, it takes us some time to address it, but we are soldiering through that, and I think the rest is now, there's light at the end of the tunnel here. Thank you very much.
I know we discussed this a little bit on the virtual interim. The question was, were the magnitude of the changes going to be enough that we wanted to do another working group last call on this document? And I don't know, Roman, if you have an opinion on that, or the authors do, or Chris.
I mean, from my perspective, it was a lot of nits. The list was long, but I personally didn't feel like they substantially kind of changed what came to me. I think it was a long list, that's all.
Okay.
I have a similar feeling. Maybe the question to ask is there, does anyone find any of the changes to be, significant in a way that they would want to, to comment on those?
So I guess the one question from reviewing the document is about, at least to my mind, is about the remote attestation. Seemed to be a lot more developed in the draft, although it's still just pointers, which I think is pointers to the document in RATS. Can anybody comment on that? Because I feel like that could be more significant, but it's actually not clear to me if it is.
My perspective is that we should break any connection to the work that's ongoing in RATS and simply have that document point back to the published CoSWID spec. When it works its way through the IESG, because it's a use case for using CoSWID, not something that is core to the use of, or to the definition of CoSWID.
there's almost kind of extension placeholders for what is it, RIM?
Yeah.
Code points in the current draft, which is a change from 15 to 16.
I didn't realize that change was made.
I also don't see what you mean here right now. So the extension points are all there. They were there before, and they're there now. We didn't add any.
But I
We only
guess
changed. Sorry.
it's an update of them from kind of a one sentence. Here's a pointer to an extension point to here's 4, I guess, more defined extension points. And I don't necessarily think that that's potentially a big change. I just don't fully understand what it implies. It's at the beginning of the document.
So at the beginning of the document, there's 3 use cases to highlight where this can be applied. And at first there was so you're talking about the assessment case, I assume, that falls into the architecture?
Yep.
Yeah, that was before the Romans comment was about this was this document started when there was no rats, and so it was pointing to TUDA before, so a specific the only one protocol about attestation at the time, and now it points to architecture. So it's also pointed to SAM, so the software assessment management and such. So I'm not really sure how this is different now.
Let me see if I can. So I mean, if you guys obviously you guys think it's pretty trivial, so it might just be my lack of depth of reading on part of it. So maybe that's okay actually.
It's simply just an informative reference to the RATS architecture. If it's problematic, we could strike it. I would say.
No, I wasn't saying that. What I was saying is I didn't because I thought there was some more statements to RIM, but it's okay. So if I have any concerns, I'll put it on list.
Thanks.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure we don't have included any forward reference, so to speak, to RIMs here.
Yeah, I mean, to repeat, the original text said CUDA, and I said use RATS architecture only because that was more generic, and all of them are informative references. I also don't think that there were any changes beyond that referencing RATS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on Coastwood? If I recall, I heard that you think it'll be like 3 or 4 weeks, Hank and Dave.
It's more like 4 to 6, but yes, I think that's true.
Somewhere in that order of magnitude, though.
So it could be like like a New Year's surprise. How's that?
That sounds wonderful.
Right. There you go. Okay, so nothing else on Coastwood. The next document is the Rowley configuration checklist extension. And Dave, before you joined the call, I had put Bill on here, and Bill said, well, maybe you or Stephen wanted to talk to it, and then you weren't here, so I left Bill on it, and now you're here. So I don't know which one of the two of you wants to talk about the Rowley. I don't see Stephen, I don't believe.
I don't see him either. I haven't been working on that draft, so I don't have any prepared remarks.
All right, so I'll stick it back to Bill.
Yeah, this is Bill. I just my question of bringing up your name was if Stephen had passed any information on to you, if he was joining or not. About any of that.
I have not heard from him.
All right.
I can try to get in touch with him, and maybe we can come back to this.
Okay.
I mean, I can give the 2-minute update if you want.
That's
fine.
The
2-minute, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, work is ongoing. The three of us, me, Stephen, and Gabe Alford, the main authors on the draft, are we meet bi-weekly. It's sort of a combination of the two of them really kind of talking more about implementations of Rolly that are going on either side, as well as the draft. And I know that we were waiting for the official adoption of the draft to really sort of continue to task people with kind of completing the different sections of the draft. It shouldn't be a huge amount of effort from the authoring perspective, but again, it's just sort of us getting together and making sure that we can kind of assign people to work on stuff. So that's pretty much it. The updated named adopted version of the draft still hasn't even been posted on there, so I'll just kind of take those things down as action items to take to the group.
Okay. Well, the draft has been adopted, and you all have published a working group version at this point, right?
It's still listed in the documents as the original sort of M&M named document, so it's not listed as draft IETF yet. So
okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
We'll have to get that updated.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I switched it with. It is kind of late. I switched it with in my mind with one that's in the NTP working group, where they had done the update. So that's great. Okay. So next is the Sacrum Architecture. We do have, let me get these switched out. So Bill or Adam, I don't know which one of you is going to talk.
It's me again.
All right, well, I'm just going to go to your one slide.
My huge slide, yeah. Yeah, so I'll just say it's pretty much the same updates that we presented at the interim. No other work really has been done on it since then. Again, to reiterate, we've addressed most of, if not all, if they hadn't been changed already and fixed, IRIS comments from previous reviews. A lot of formatting improvements in there with better tables and descriptive elements and stuff. Section 4 got a lot more fleshed out with a number of the different component interactions, and Section 5 got a lot more improvements, again, of the different, sort of topic naming and outlines of the different operations and kind of placeholders for the different information elements that needed to be put in there for each operation. So all of those still need to be kind of built out with the different data that would kind of be passed through the different topics and endpoints. And again, Roman did kind of a very thorough review which resulted in a large number of comments that we have not gone through and addressed yet. That would be in the 08 update. And I guess that's going to sort of depend on the next steps for the working group on what we're going to do with that and how we're going to move forward with those. I'll let Adam fill in any blanks that I might have left out.
Adam? Or Adam, do you want to say something, or Dave, did you want to ask a question? Wait. Oh, you were trying to speak, Adam? Nothing to add, okay. Dave, are you, oh no, okay, you're out of the queue. Wow, little boxes flying everywhere. Bill, do you have a sense, let me close some of these chat boxes that are opening up on me. Do we have a sense of next steps or how much longer? And you might have just told me that while I was trying to close chat boxes.
We definitely, there's a fair amount of work still to be done. Again, kind of addressing all of Roman's comments would be the first thing. And then a lot of the different information elements that would go in each operation in Section 5. Maybe that's part of the comments, but yeah, there's a fair amount of work still to go.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the architecture document?
Hey, Bill, I mean, I have some nits in the current document, but I'm loath to kind of put that out there until you've kind of tackled maybe some of Roman's stuff. But I don't really have, I mean, Roman's got, I would say, more structural type comments. And I think those are more valuable. I have one structural comment. How do you want me to deal with them?
You can send them to us on the list. That's fine. We'll take them.
Okay. I'm probably going to hold off on the nits and just talk about my one kind of structural comment.
Okay. If you just want to email me the nits, then you can do that too.
I mean, they're few and minor, so I'll email them to you.
Cool.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the architecture document? Okay. So going back to our agenda, the next thing that we have is a draft that was submitted, a new draft, an individual submission. And if you hold on a second, I just got the slides, so I just have to get them properly set up here. Okay, so whichever author wants to speak to these. Okay, there you go.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Karen. But can I see my slides in this screen?
Do you see the slides?
I didn't see the slides.
Does everybody else see the slides?
I have just sent you an email, PPT.
Right. So I have.
I see them.
I have loaded your slides, and so you should see them in the Meet Echo screen.
Oh, maybe the network got something wrong. It's okay. So I will.
I'm on your titles. I mean, if you can't see them, I'll tell you what slide you're on. But right now, I'm on your title slide.
I can't see the slides in the screen.
Okay. Well, we're on your first slide. Are you ready to move to your second slide?
Yeah.
All right. So we're on slide 2 for you.
Okay. Thank you. This document suggested a lightweighted vulnerability record. Because in the work of continuously security monitoring, if the same vulnerability of the same host is not fixed in time, multiple records will be generated. And the more frequent the detection holds, the more vulnerability records will be generated. Repeated vulnerability records will waste storage space and increase the cost of data analysis. So this document proposes this lightweighted vulnerability recording methods. We defined several things to carry the information, including IP address, port, service, protocol, vulnerability name, vulnerability status, vulnerability detected time, and update time, fix time, and vulnerability detail.
Okay.
The most important thing in this document is 3 times about vulnerability. The vulnerability detected time is the timestamp that detects the vulnerability first time. So it records the first time when we detected this vulnerability.
Okay, can I interrupt for just a moment, please?
Okay.
The MeetEcho support people are suggesting, are you in presentation view? That it's the first, if you look at all those squares across the top, it's the first one on the left.
The first one on the left. It's now it's the third page.
The
third page and the middle one.
Okay.
Lightweighted VUL record.
So over on the, if you go, maybe I should just continue. If you go to the, if you go out, you see where it says IETF109 and SACM, and then go straight across, you see that first square that has like a little head and then a box. I'm not sure what slide you're on, and I think you've moved on.
Okay. The third one, the third page.
The third page. Okay, okay. So you're on the third slide.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I apologize for interrupting you. I think we're on the same place now. So continue.
Okay. And then the vulnerability fix time. It is the once it is detected that the vulnerability has been fixed, we will record this time. And once the vulnerability has been detected fixed, we will set vulnerability status from 1 to 0. Since 1 is vulnerability exists and 0 is vulnerability fixed. And there is another time, vulnerability update time. It is the last update time of this vulnerability status. It presents the latest update time. When detected many times, the latest timestamp will be recorded to cover the older record. And suppose that a company carried out a round of vulnerability detection every day and found that there is a telnet weak password on a host from one day to another, and it was fixed on Sunday. One vulnerability record generated every day. The records will like the slides in the left. I posted a picture in slide 3 and in the left. It is a non-lightweighted vulnerability record. It will generate one record one day, and when we scan vulnerability every day, it will have a lot of records about the same vulnerability. That's the left. And if we use lightweighted vulnerability record, the record there will only one record in the database. And once this vulnerability fixed, the record will change the vulnerability status from 1 to 0, and vulnerability fix time. A vulnerability fix time will be attached. Next slide, please. We give an example. Some example records are given in this slide. We had a tool to do vulnerability scan and record whether the vulnerability exists or fixed. Here is some example. For each vulnerability, only one record will keep, and it's much more easier to analyze this vulnerability data. Yeah, that's all for this document.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Hi, Li Jiang. Thanks for your presentation. This is Wei Pan from Huawei. I have a question about your draft. I have read your draft, and I'm curious about the non-lightweighted vulnerability record you mentioned. Is there any existing draft standard about the non-lightweighted vulnerability record?
Many vulnerability scan tools we used they use lightweighted vulnerability record method.
Yeah, I know. I mean, is there any existing standard about the non-lightweighted vulnerability record? Because you want to have some changes to the non-lightweighted. So I'm curious, is there any existing standard of the non-lightweighted?
Sorry, I don't know whether it has been become a standard from a country or international.
International.
It seems no international standard for this kind of record.
Okay,
Sorry,
so I think
I'm not correct.
Okay.
I'm not pretty sure. But
Okay,
I usually see some vulnerability scan tools use so many storage or so many data to record some information repeated. So I propose this document.
Yes, the reason I asked the question is because you in the draft you first mentioned the non-lightweighted record, and then you mentioned how to improve the non-lightweighted record. So if there is no existing record about the non-lightweighted, I think you just need to write a full document, introduce all the elements in the records you mentioned in the non-lightweighted vulnerability record.
Thank you for your suggestion. Yes, it's reasonable. Yeah.
Also, I have another question. I kind of feel like this is an internal implementation issue.
Yes.
I don't think it's an interoperability issue, so I don't think it is appropriate to standardize this work.
Appropriate.
You mean? I mean about the interaction between devices, between network devices. Because it's internal implementation, so you don't need to standardize it.
But we can have standard for the way how to record some vulnerability information.
Yeah, but I don't know whether this is appropriate to standardize in IETF.
This is Dave Waltmeyer. Is the intent for developing this lightweight vulnerability reporting format so that tools that generate vulnerability reports would be able to share that information with tools that would consume those vulnerability reports? And if that's the use case, then there could be value in standardizing this. But but then I think if that is true, the larger question is Sacrum the right place to do that work?
You said that is the right place to do this work?
Yes, because I'm not certain that this is something that we've been chartered to do. Is there a reason why you submitted this draft to Sacrum? Why you thought Sacrum was the right place to do this work?
I think the security error is the best area to do this work, and this working group is the best group to do this work.
Okay, Roman, did you?
No, it's not about this document. It's not about vulnerability information exchange or vulnerability information. It's about vulnerability information collection or vulnerability scanning. As a security administrator, we always need to do some security, some vulnerability scan.
Ed Roman.
Hi, Lu Zheng. Thanks for bringing your draft to the working group. I had a similar question, I think, to what was asked by the two previous speakers, which is I didn't fully understand how broad of a set of information elements you wanted to include. Is it as simple as you're roughly describing in this example, or do you envision a much richer vocabulary? In my head, back to what Weipan was talking about, things like OVAL and IODEF SCI have some of these information kind of elements. So I'm trying to understand how what's talked about here overlaps kind of with the discussion here, if you have a sense for
that. We only do this work to the hosts or servers that in this company or in a specific area, not to do this on the internet.
that.
So actually, the most important thing of this document is not about vulnerability information collection or some other internet information collection. It's a way to record vulnerability and then to improve the security level of a company's network.
Okay. So I think at this stage, there's been some good questions asked. We probably ought to take further discussion to the mailing list. I think I'm hearing that there's questions about whether this is actually within the Sacrum scope or not. So I think discussion, providing the authors some guidance about where it might belong if it doesn't belong here, and then also any technical questions on the draft itself. Is there any additional feedback on this document? Okay. So The slides for the last presentation are not up in materials, but I'll get them loaded. I got them a bit late, so they're not listed up there. So the next thing is a discussion of way ahead, what we think our next steps are. We have Coastwood, which we think is going to be 4 to 6 weeks to resolve all of the AD comments. We have the Rolly configuration checklist, which is meeting bi-weekly and will get us a working group draft published sometime soon. We have the Sacrum Architecture, which still has a fair amount of work, but is making progress. And then we have the new submission. I think it probably makes sense to do a, for better or for worse, we seem to make more progress and meet deadlines when we have meetings. So I'm thinking somewhere from the middle of January to the middle of February, we should probably have a virtual interim. Maybe middle of January, middle of February is too close to March. Any comments on that? Questions? Go ahead, Adam.
Can you hear me this time?
I can, yes.
Hey, how about that? All right. Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. Yeah, we just need to get it scheduled, and like specifically for the architecture draft. And Bill, sorry if I am overstepping in some way. I know Ira provided feedback. I know Roman provided feedback. I'd like others to provide feedback as well if we can. And then, then I think we're willing to keep moving forward with the draft, right?
I think we are, as long as it's making progress. I think the conversation we had prior was that it didn't look like it was getting to a consensus. But it seems to be moving in the right direction now. It would be very helpful to have additional comments on it, though. I think we've go ahead, Roman.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, what we're effectively saying is that on deck we have the Coastwood document that's almost wrapped up. We're going to continue progressing and buttoning up the Rolly config checklist and the architecture document. And the open question is there anything more for us to do after that? Correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll, Chris and I will send out a doodle poll for sometime middle to end of January. And I don't think there's any point in trying to have something in December, because by the time we give 3 or 4 weeks, we're into getting close to the holidays. So, but that is going to be 2 months. Is that too long, or we think we're going to be good with that? Okay. And with that, that brings us to the last agenda item. Is there any other business anybody would like to discuss? Oh, I see a chat message. Yeah, right. I don't think it's realistic for December. All right. I guess our note to self is we probably should have requested an hour instead of 2 hours. With that, I believe we are done.
Mini nap time for our AD.
Yeah, nap time for the ADs. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And please comment on the mailing list, because that's how we get things done.
Thank you.
Have a good morning, evening, middle of your night, whatever it may be for you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Happy first day of the IETF, and we survived the first session of the IETF. So.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris and Karen. I'm hopping off to get on dispatch. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.